How do you feel about the differences between Macomb and Detroit? Obviously, you've moved and you want to raise your kids in Macomb. Do you think there's anything lost from living in Macomb culturally, or?
Culturally, there's a bit that may be lost. Me and my best friend Nate often have this conversation about our kids losing a part of the culture, the urban culture that is a part of Detroit, and assimilating into the suburban culture. We often talk about that. I think that may be one of many issues, but I don't think that's a pressing one.
Okay.
I've done a lot of outreach programs and things of that nature, but I am not willing to move my family back to Detroit for several reasons. The crime rate is high. The schools are horrible. My son, who was educated in the Detroit public school system, who, for lack of resources or lack of just blatantly didn't care, tried to label him as ADHD.
Who was it? A psychologist? School psychologist? Who labeled
the psychologist, the teachers. They wanted to perform tests on him, when the reality was they weren't doing their jobs. Now my son is well over a 3.4 GPA. He's in a suburban school and he's doing well.
And he's not on any drugs for ADD or anything?
And he's not on any drugs.
And have you taken him to someone else who got a second opinion? Or?
Absolutely, and they say he's fine. So my biggest issue with Detroit is the school system, because I think that's where all of the other downfalls start. Oh. Here's the thing: I think that policymakers hide in Lansing. I don't think they're really attempting to get in the mix and in the grit of what really is going on. No, everyone knows what's going on in Detroit. We have the highest dropout rate in the country. We have the highest rate of sexually transmitted diseases, the highest, the fastest growing rate of HIV cases. How do I know this and they don't? I think this is ridiculous. I think they sit behind their desks and they collect their checks, but they're not really willing to get out into the community and do what's necessary. And we can put this on the ballot, but I really don't have a whole lot of faith in our political system. I don't really know if we can force their hand to do anything more than they're already doing. I mean, our school systems have been declining for the past 15 years. And what do? We allow charter schools to come in. And charter schools are ran by organizations. And organizations like RCA and Magnavox and Central Michigan University. And these places have these charter schools, which, again, my son was a part of, and they failed him. They failed him drastically. And as a result, he repeated a grade, and which, had they given him the tools that he needed the first time, be a totally different outcome. What leaving Detroit allowed me to do was to be able to step outside of the Detroit mentality, to be able to travel the United States, to be able to go in different places, and to see how other people lived who looked like me. I'm more well-rounded now, because I understand that the world is not just Detroit. The world is not just about Gators and Dobbs, you know. So,
what do you mean by the Detroit mentality?
What do I mean by it?
I mean, someone who doesn't know.
Yeah,
a lot of my friends who are both educated and non-educated alike seem to think that everything is great here, and I don't understand. How can you say that? How can anyone with half a brain say that? How can you not look at our political structure? How can you not look at our school systems? How can you not look at the urban blight? How can you not look at practically everything that's going on? Again, I reiterate, STDs are on the rise, dropout rates on the rise, more black men on the street not graduating. I mean, how can you say that this is a good place to live? It would be a good place to live if it were progressive, but it's not. It's not, and that's the reason why we're here. I got tired of seeing cars sitting on bricks and people walking outside just with no shirt on carrying a 40. I got tired of that kind of stuff. I get tired of seeing that. I don't believe that's a part of our culture. I don't believe that's a part of our culture.
I agree.
I think that's a part of a mentality gone wrong.
Right. I believe that that's a part of any culture that is that has lack of resources.
Right. In the 21 years that you lived in Detroit, had you seen it decline or get worse, or was it always kind of the same?
It's definitely gotten worse. A key example is Michael and I both went to the same elementary schools, probably 10 years apart from one another. When I went to that elementary school, it gave me the building blocks for being successful. They hammered in grammar. They hammered in vocabulary. They hammered in reading, writing, and arithmetic. All of those things. And I believe that's where I got my start to be the person who I am today. However, Michael had a different experience altogether. He went there, and it was like night and day. It was like going into the pit of hell or something, because he couldn't stand being there. Teachers didn't want to teach. Students didn't want to learn. I don't know, man. I think that I get screwed. Detroit gets screwed because of politics. I believe most of the money for education is going out to wealthy schools. Your Birminghams, your West Bloomfields, Bloomfield Hills, where we're still utilizing old textbooks from 10 years ago, and the information in them are not relevant or accurate anymore. So I think if I were a policy maker, I would start there.
Education.
You have to start in education. Right. You have to. But I not only think that education is necessary for the student, but I think we need to get some form of education for parents.
Right.
Absolutely. They need parental classes. They need some other tools that they're lacking, because
I think that one of the main things that would improve the quality of life in Detroit is providing more money for elementary education. Because, number one, provide more money for teachers in the form of incentive programs that would reward teachers for doing a good job. Number two, providing a more competitive environment to attract suburban teachers who are, have masters and PhDs. We have subpar money, we have subpar benefits, so we're getting, subpar teachers.
Right.
And people take their children's education very seriously, especially educated people who we need to live in Detroit, who we need to be in the city, people moving out. So that's leaving the educationally blind, so to speak, leading the educationally blind.
I just don't see Detroit as being progressive, and we want to say we're the city of the 21st century, and Kwame wants to say this is the next Detroit and things of that nature. Listen, I love my black people, I love my black culture, and I didn't leave to get away from my black culture or my heritage. I left to put my family in a better situation.